Well, that time has come once again. The engines are going to thunder to life, and we get set to go racing for the round of 6. It's more playoff action and iRacing Stock Car Association ButtKicker Super Cup Series for the Tucson Sound Dart 200 here in the gambling capital of the world. Hello, one and all, and welcome to the ISCA YouTube channel, Twitch channel, or on Facebook Live, wherever you happen to be watching us from today. My name is Nolan Rempel. I got Brian Britt beside me in the broadcast booth with Rob Malik acting as technical director down behind the cameras for tonight's race. So, as we get set to go playoff racing once again, it should be a rather interesting race for us here tonight at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Brian.
Oh, yeah, 100%. This is going to be very exciting. I mean, we've seen, I've actually done a couple of these A-Opens here at this racetrack, and let me tell you, it's been very interesting. The top line's been very strong. I mean, I think a lot of these guys might utilize it. You know, we're going to see a lot of pack racing out here, I do believe. It's going to be very exciting.
A 36-car grid is what's going to be set for us to go racing here tonight. It should be a rather entertaining race. I can only imagine what we could expect to be seeing later on in the evening. Of course, we are in the middle of qualifying at the moment, but the championship is hotter than ever, especially with the fact that you got Clayton Hoffman, a season favorite, I think, to win the championship, getting eliminated with so much misfortune in the round of 8. You can only hope that it doesn't happen to some other drivers throughout the field. Of course, it is worth noting that Boyd Hogan is a no-show for tonight's race, and he was one of those drivers that's like getting set to make a run at the title.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Hopefully, maybe he'll show up maybe right before qualifying ends. I mean, that's his only chance here. But I know last week when we talked to him, he said he definitely was a game to go after the title. I don't know what's going on here. But Josh R. Ward able to take the provisional pole, 29.551 right now, but still well over 2 minutes of qualifying remaining.
It is bound to be an entertaining race, to say the very least. And, of course, you get these times that are going to continue to drop as the time goes on. We were seeing drivers setting times all the way down in the 25.3-second range, even the 24.3-second range over in practice. It's bound to be, one of those incidents where you could see a lot of drivers getting themselves a little bit more hectic today, especially in the opening stages, when you never know what could happen in these early stages with the field this big.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think these guys are going to have to – they're going to be bouncing off of each other in the first parts before they get used to racing around each other at this racetrack. I mean, I think it's going to be very interesting. A lot of these guys probably going to make some mistakes early, especially coming from Bristol. I mean, coming from Bristol to Vegas is going to be much different out here.
It should be an entertaining race, to say the very least. So with qualifying presently underway, we'll get ourselves all over into how this championship will play up in the round of 6 in just a few moments. But for now, we'll take a quick step away, and we'll hopefully be back in a few moments with more with qualifying, and then, of course, the starting grid in just a few moments.
There are moments that surprise and delight the mind and the senses. Introducing Sound Art, the world's first truly customizable, concealed, flat-panel art speaker system. A revolutionary combination of incredible sound delivered from your most meaningful pictures. When art and technology intersect, there is a seamless blend of creativity and function.
Come alive in the streetlight, pulling at the stars in the moonlight. Every time I feel you close.
With Sound Art, anyone can print their own artwork or pick from numerous licensed artwork that we have. The possibilities are limitless. Enjoy beautiful and amazing sound throughout your home. The entire surface of your artwork generates incredibly robust sound. Your art never sounded so good.
And welcome back here. We have a great race in store for you here. It seems like Nolan's having a little bit of technical difficulties, so we'll go ahead and run through the grid here. And 17th, Corey Cook. 18th, Seth Hollander. 19th, Mark Sanchez. 20th, John Ballou. 21st, Greg Wachinski. 22nd, Josh Schaffner. 23rd, John Mullins. 24th, Kenny Powell. 25th, and Garrett Phillips. And then lining up in 26th, Craig Johnson. 27th, Robert Pattengale. 28th, Justin Levine. 29th, Heath Snyder. 30th, Roy Hyde. 31st, Paul Olson. 32nd, Brian Littleton. 33rd, Chuck Phillips. And 34th, Randy Drumhiller. And just two more to go. 35th, Matthew McMeekum. And 36th, Paul Regney. 36 cars here. A lot of race cars going to be lined up here for tonight. Getting ready to see these guys maybe get ready to go here. Pace car going to be pulling off and going to have one parade lap. And I think we're going to have one heck of a race here tonight as Noah Bitt's going to lead the field. And wow, what an interesting call. I mean, interesting to see Paul Smallenberg out there in fourth. Haven't seen him in this league before, but I will say, going from some other broadcasting work I've done, he actually runs in another league I broadcast for, the Green Flag Cup Series. So cool to see, him show up in here. Haven't seen him race a Cup car in quite a while, and he usually races and fix it up. So I'm very interested to see how this is going to go. And Donnie Gotten Jr., haven't seen him in quite a while either. So excited to see these guys up into the top five. And like Nolan kind of mentioned before, Boyd Hogan not in the grid. That is going to be very interesting there for playoffs.
Oh, and it will be an interesting situation as well. I mean, you got Boyd Hogan, who secured his ticket into the round of 6 with a race win early on in the round of 8. He'll be trying to see what he can do here in the round of 6. Of course, not present at Las Vegas, but he does have Talladega Super Speedway as well as the Charlotte Roval to get himself set up as well. Apologies, by the way. I'm still struggling with a bit of technical difficulties, working on getting those resolved as quick as possible. But you took us through our starting grid already, Brian, and with 36 cars lined up for 134 laps, should be a fun one.
Oh, yeah, 100%. It's going to be a fun one. And, going back a little bit back to Boyd Hogan a little bit, you don't want to bank on Talladega, that's for sure. But and the Roval, I think that, kind of not a good call to not show up here tonight. It's going to definitely change a lot of things. And I think, but then again, it's going to help out a lot of these guys get a little bit more comfortable for Talladega coming up.
You see the pace car starting to lead the field of 36 cars strong, off and away. That 87 car going to be set to take them to the green flag this time by just a mile and a half before we get this thing underway. Should be a very fun race ahead of us. Well, Brian, what do you think we can expect coming into the night's race?
Really, to be honest with you, I mean, usually at a mile and a half like this, you see the bottom line be the more preferred line. But I feel like as this race goes on, top lane going to be increasingly more valuable. I think that's where the passes are going to be made. As we are in the back straightaway, the Nellis straightaway to be exact. As that 87 Budweiser machine going to try to make something happen here tonight.
All right, well, looks like we're about ready to get this underway, and just in time, I figured out my technical difficulties. So, we're happy that you could join us all on a Thursday night. Noah Bitts lining up on the front row beside Josh Ward as the pace car takes them out of turns 3 and 4. The pace car pulls down to pit road, and now we just wait on the iRacing green flag. Out of turn number 4 into the tri-oval, green flag drops. We are underway in the gambling capital of the world, and this time Noah Bitts doesn't get away well from pole.
I think he did pretty good on that restart, to be honest with you. I mean, you don't want to leave, really, considering how strong the draft is here, as we see Joshua Ward migrate his way down to the bottom.
Justin Levine exiting pit road as well. Travis Manning still in pit road. So Levine taking this one from pit road. It'll be Noah Bitts to lead the opening lap here in Las Vegas. Josh Ward in second place. Souza picks up third. They're still side by side, though. Fifth place on back, deep in the field. David Phillips, the second, currently dropping back from the outside line. Just got passed up by Brian Johnson.
Yeah, one thing about David Phillips and Paul Smallbird, they come from the same league, and they're used to fixed setup racing and the next-gen car, to be exact. So curious how they're going to perform here. I mean, going from a fixed setup to an open setup, especially with the likes of these guys out here, the competition here is stiff.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of the most competitive types of series you can find out there on iRacing, and week in, week out, they have proven that they can provide some great racing for us. Bit of a checkup on that inside line, but on the run for the lead, Josh Ward has the inside from Noah Bitts coming down to the turn number 3 with a flyby down the back straightaway, shaking with the 36-car field thundering past. Josh Ward, though, underneath Noah Bitts, out of 3 and 4. Bitts trying to hug the outside line to carry some momentum, but it will be Josh Ward with the first official lead change on the night. He goes to the point on lap number 4.
Yeah, definitely a great job from Josh R. Ward, but you got to wonder, too, how is he sacrificing tires here as he drifts up a little bit there, almost gets into Noah Bitts. Definitely one of those things when, this track is very bumpy. You'd be surprised. It looks very smooth if you look at it, but there's actually a lot of bumps on the bottom of that racetrack.
A lot of bumps on the inside indeed, and that's no doubt why Josh Ward has not been able to get away so far in the battle for the race lead. Still side by side, just barely with Noah Bitts. Might get clear here on the edge of the turn 1. Looks like he will. And Noah Bitts is going to have to work on trying not to slide further. Deep into 62, and Donnie Gatton Jr. washes up and nearly puts Bitts up into the outside wall.
And look at this. Interesting call here from Josh R. Ward. I mean, trying to break that draft. He took that corner very narrow. That's not something you really want to do here. I think he's going to be burning his tires up making moves like that.
Already 5-6 laps into a 134-lap race. Stage 1 concludes at the end of lap 30. Stage 2 at the end of 65. Those are your 2 stages getting set for the course of the night. So drivers have got a long way ahead of them. Fuel window roughly 45 laps. So, as always, fuel will not play a factor in stages 1 or 2. It'll only come into play in stage number 3. For now, it's a straight shot. Looking to go maybe 3 wide, though, further behind. Look at Hoffman trying to look up the inside of Brian Johnson out of turn 4.
Oh, that was very scary looking. I mean, these guys are hungry. You could tell we're playoff racing, that's for sure. As these guys are making moves they necessarily wouldn't make usually. I mean, this looks like the end of the race, and we're only on lap 7.
Further behind, David Phillips II almost got into it with J.R. Petrella going 3 wide down the back straightaway. John Bowler's going to take advantage of this in the Reaper Speed Labs 88. He'll throw his way up the inside of Phillips II. And up front, you can see how good of a run that Petrella has got. Clears around the outside of Kyle Labrie. And look down behind for Corey Cook, kind of sliding around as he clips the apron.
Yeah, I mean, literally everywhere you look right now, there is a race car. No real estate at all for these guys to make the moves they need to. I mean, you try to step out one bit, you're going to hit another car. But Josh R. Ward really has a pretty sizable gap on Noah Bitts, which is surprising. I don't know if that's something you really want here at this racetrack as a gap.
You can get away with the draft a little bit easier at a track like Vegas than you would, say, at a track like Daytona or Talladega. Now, of course, the only problem is the fact that he's probably burning this stuff up early by trying to gain that gap, and it's only going to cost him more time later on into these runs. You saw Noah Bitts trying to go defensive against Donnie Gatton Jr. Just in behind, that was the battle for P number 2. And just in behind, they're still fighting that for 4th and 5th as well, with Jeffrey Souza going to go back up into 4th place. Johnson drops back down to 5th, and here comes Clayton Hoffman, a driver who was looking so good to contend for a title. Eliminated in the round of 8. He is still going to battle, though, to try to get himself up into the top 5.
And Corey Cook's got him a handful here as we see the 88. I do believe, well, it says 88 on his car. I do believe that's John Balu, though, as he's trying to get around on the bottom here of Corey Cook. Corey Cook was looking very strong, but, I mean, there's still some 3-wide racing going on back here.
That there is, and David Phillips II is right in the middle of it. Him and J.R. Petrella have been 3 wide a couple of times already, and they just went 3 wide again with 2 different drivers, Connor Mulligan and John Mullins. Both of those guys breezing past on the inside line through turns 3 and 4. So Phelps Jr. and Petrella starting to almost check up the second pack here a little bit more. And you can see Kenny Powell was just barely in the mix behind them trying to find a way through, but just couldn't find the gap. And there you saw more through wide up in front. The Interstate Batteries retro machine, Corey Cook, having to back out for the middle group from Greg Wychinski and John Ballard.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of gambling going on here at Vegas, and it's very appropriate considering, we're in the gambling capital of the world. As it looks like everybody's starting to kind of cool down a little bit here. No more 3 wide thus far, but you mentioned Corey Cook. He's still side by side right now. I do believe with John Malou, if I'm not mistaken.
Looks like things are starting to calm down for the time being, but the question is obviously going to be, how long will it calm down for? You got yourself a lot of these guys there now, not necessarily going 3 wide, but more single file, a couple of side-by-side battles here or there, and you're watching one of those now with Corey Cook now looking around the outside line of Wayne Grossi in the sprint down towards turn number 1 on the exit of the tri-oval. You're going to see that outside line starting to come into play big time here, Brian. Look at how fast Corey Cook was off of the corner compared to Wayne Grossi. Grossi going to lose up 2 spots here, and heads up for J.R. Petrella making a run around the outside.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is one of those type, you get kind of almost hung out to dry running that bottom at this point in the race. And once the rubber starts getting laid down up there and the tires start getting wore out a little bit, you're just able to get such a better run up there. And the guy on the bottom just, like I said, hung out to dry. He can't get the momentum off the corner because he has to worry about getting tight and hitting that guy above him.
Indeed. Not to mention the aero push and the side draft. Ugh, it's terrible at 1.5 miles like this.
100%. And but look at Clayton Hoffman. He's making some big inroads here. He's up to 4th right now and trying to chase down Brian Johnson.
And he is. Hoffman trying to chase after the podium drivers, but already, you heard it right there, Hoffman put the clutch in, so Hoffman's already clutching coasting. Now, I don't think that's a fuel-saving tactic. I think that's just to help get the car turned in better. It's a strategy that drivers often use at tracks like this, to kind of help them rotate the back end out a little bit more. I think that's what he was trying to do right there, just get that thing turned in a little bit easier. It's helping him run down Brian Johnson for sure.
Oh, he is catching him like crazy right now. He is right up to the back bumper. That's a very interesting thought. I mean, I never would even think something like that would work. But, I mean, hey, you just blew my mind. You learn something new every day.
You surely do. And you saw Johnson look for the outside around Noah Bitts. I think that was more evasive, though. Had to go up high to avoid running over the back of the 87 on the entry to turn number 1. And Hoffman is still trying to catch up to Brian Johnson as well. But you can see the top 3 starting to get closer and closer to the outside line. Brian Johnson has to lift to avoid hitting the wall. And that'll make a pass for 3rd place very easy for Clayton Hoffman.
I think that's what's going to make this stage break on lap 30 so important. Is, for people like Brian Johnson, getting tight like that, you might have to make some adjustments. Talk to your crew. Make something happen. Figure out what the best adjustment's going to be to get your car right for that last stage. That's going to be the most important. I think that everybody's pretty much in a workshop right now trying to figure out what their car needs.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the good thing about these stage cautions as well, is because you can come down and you can get yourself sorted with a new setup if you want. Make those little adjustments to the track bar and so on and so forth if you think you really need to. It really helps having these stage cautions in there. Gives you those little chances of a break to, make those sorts of adjustments if you think you need them to help the car improve better throughout the course of the race, especially since we are going to be racing throughout the evening. It's worth noting. It is about 5 o'clock p.m. in-sim time. Looks like we got some trouble further behind. J.R. Petrella, really slow, coming up in front of Josh Schaffner. Huge moment for J.R. Petrella, who goodnessly got up into John Mullins on the back straightaway and then nearly wiped out Schaffner, a playoff contender, as he came back up onto the track in 3.
Yeah, a lot of those guys got really lucky. They would have missed that. I mean, I watched Wayne Grossi able to drive by him in a lot of different cars. Very slow, that 42. He is having major issues right now. Unfortunate. But you're right, though, 100% about how this track is going to keep changing as this run goes on. I mean, as we go into the night, the track's going to cool down. You might want to make some adjustments just because of that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's at the moment just about 76 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's a pretty cool track as it is, compared to being 67 in the air, and that's only going to get colder as the night goes on.
You also got to consider this is Vegas. I mean, Vegas gets hot during the day. One thing about deserts, it gets colder at night.
Oh, yeah. It gets, blistering cold during the night, and I took a trip down to Disneyland once, and I can actually say it's the same. You know, I went down in February. It was shorts and T-shirts during the day. You were wearing hoodies over at night. It was that cold out. There goes John Mullins making a trip down to pit road, and this is going to be unscheduled. And he is flying down pit road as well. John Mullins, he is furious. I think he's going to call it a night here.
That's unfortunate for sure. I mean, we've seen Mullins be very competitive, and unfortunate for him. I mean, I think that he should have a little bit of a cooler head, stick with it. I mean, a lot of things can happen to change this. Maybe he can get back in. I don't know what happened there. I have to take a look back.
With all that drama going on, we missed the swap for the race lead. Clayton Hoffman is down to the point. Josh Ward is still in second. Noah Bitts has dropped down to 5th place now and is still trying to work on Donnie Gatton Jr. with a huge bag gag on the car. It's just in behind him as well. Look at the hornet's nest right behind that. Clayton Hoffman is having to keep at bay.
Yeah, 100%. A little bit of room, though, for him is, we see Johnson and Josh R. Ward fighting. The real hornet's nest starts about 5th place or so. I mean, they are really battling back there. Unfortunate for Noah Bitts. I mean, he just doesn't seem to have long run potential right now as he's falling off hard as he's back to 6th now. So, I mean, I think that definitely we can see how important these adjustments are going to be.
Under 10 laps to go, and stage number 1 is gone by quickly. Noah Bitts and Chris Johnson trying to work out with each other. Chad Sullivan going to see if he can stick his nose in and maybe get a few free spots as well. Thinking about 3 wide out of turn 4. Doesn't have the room to make that one work, and then you saw him think about the middle. Chris Johnson covers him off. Corey Cook has no space to get in either.
Yeah, one thing about this racetrack, these guys racing like so hard, 3 wide like that, it really slows them down and makes it harder for them to actually catch up to these leaders. That's the one thing about it. I mean, yeah, getting a position is temporary on the short term. You really want to just, I am of the mind you should just kind of stay behind the guy. Oh, some contact with the wall there. I believe that's Donnie Gatton Jr.
It was. Donnie Gatton Jr. slams the outside wall from turn 4 completely by himself. Just overdrove turn 4, and that caused the field to scramble. Nobody else got into him, though. We stay green. 5.5 laps to go now in stage number 1. You can see the battle still raging on for 5th place. Chad Sullivan as well with Jeffrey Souza. They're looking to do battle for 9th and 10th, I believe this is out there on the racetrack, with Donnie Gatton Jr. falling down to 12th.
Yeah, and looks like that 21 definitely has the advantage. We're seeing that top line really be strong here as we see Greg Wachinski able to make it past 14. I don't know, starting to get a run really close. There's some contact. No. Greg Wachinski saves it. What a save!
Oh my gosh! What a save from the number 5 car. That has got to be one of the best saves I've seen in a very long time. Wachinski started the pinch down just as Souza tried to come up. Wachinski's car shot sideways, and that was cat-like reflexes that kept the number 5 car underneath the 5. Oh my goodness, that was beautiful.
100%. I'm sure the guys behind Greg Wachinski were very appreciative too. Speaking of probably Kenny Powell, considering he might have gotten destroyed out of that one. And Kenny Powell, look at that, getting a huge run up in Wachinski's back bumper. Going to try to take the inside here.
Wachinski's tires are effectively done. I imagine he is going to be giving up a couple of more spots before this stage is over. 3 laps remaining. You see Paul Schmallenberg, one of the newcomers to this series, started 4th place. He's all the way down in 14th at the moment and has only been going further back. Lost 10 positions now. I have a feeling Schmallenberg might be one of those drivers that, he happens to... Oh, boy. Kenny Powell and Wachinski getting close. But, I mean, I think Schmallenberg is one of those guys that's really good in a 1-lap pace. Can't put a long run together, though.
Well, I mean, I know from my experience with him, he's very good at managing his equipment. I just don't think that he has... this is open setup. I mean, a lot of guys, he make that transition from fixed to open. I mean, it's just impossible. Until you actually maybe get up with a team. I think that's what really those guys probably need.
Pit road is closed with 1.5 laps now remaining in stage number 1. And no doubt the battle for the race lead is going to continue to pick on up. Brian Johnson has reeled in Clayton Hoffman, the 2 G&G teammates, looking to do battle for the race lead. Coming off for the final corner, coming to the white flag for stage number 1, 1 to go.
What's really surprising here is Johnson looked like he was struggling earlier. He was having some trouble, keeping these guys at bay. But, I mean, somehow he's got a late race surge. He's got a really good long run set. on him. But we'll have to see how it does after more than 30 laps. I mean, that final stage is going to be real key here, as I do believe these guys will probably go green, and long run is going to be essential.
Out of turn number 4, Clayton Hoffman. He is going to get an easy win here in stage number 1. And the caution fly for stage number 1 here for the Tucson Sound Art 200 at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We'll take a quick step away, and we'll hopefully be back just in time for yellow flag pit stops in just a moment.
There are moments that surprise and delight the mind and the senses. Introducing Sound Art, the world's first truly customizable, concealed, flat panel art speaker system. A revolutionary combination of incredible sound delivered from your most meaningful pictures. When art and technology intersect, there is a seamless blend of creativity and function.
I'm alive in the streetlight, pulling at the stars in the moonlight. Every time I feel you close.
With Sound Art, anyone can print their own artwork or pick from numerous licensed artwork that we have. The possibilities are limitless. Enjoy beautiful and amazing sound throughout your home. The entire surface of your artwork generates incredibly robust sound. Your art never sounded so good.
Well, stage number 1 comes to a close. Clayton Hoffman, of course, your stage winner, and just exited pit road as well. We are going to see if we can dial up your stage 1 winner in just a moment here. But Brian, what an eventful stage 1 it was.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And what an eventful yellow flag pit stop that just was, as Kyle Labrie beats out Brian Johnson. Look at that.
Manages to beat him out, so that means that Kyle Labrie should be starting up a bit higher up now for this stage to restart. We're going to see if we can't bring up our Stage 1 winner, Clayton Hoffman. Well, the 92 car joins us up here in the booth. And Clayton, an eventful Stage 1 for you. 9th place to 1st. Not bad at all.
Yeah, it was a pretty good run. Had some help from my teammate Brian there. We kind of just worked the field, try to work off each other. And whatever runs we had, we kind of just took it, try to follow in behind the other one.
Of course, you're going to be starting Stage 2 up at the front, and this is going to be a much easier run for you now that you don't have a field to work through. I take it this means you're going to be hoping to go for an easy back-to-back in Stage 2?
Yeah, I'll do my best. I know John was catching us. He has pretty good pace there on the long run, so we'll kind of see how this stage goes, and we'll try to get out to a lead like we had before.
Well, we know you're 1 to green here, so we'll wrap this up here quick. Clayton, before I let you go, anybody you'd like to shout out for us?
Yeah, just on my teammates, G&G. I said Brian, he's helping me there. We were working off each other, going up through the field. Thanks to Tucson Sound Art for sponsoring the event.
Thank you, Clayton, for taking the time to come on up and join us up at the booth. We're going to back you down to your channel now. Best of luck at Stage 2.
Thank you.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, though. I mean, I feel like Kyle Labrie, Brian Johnson might have ceded that position to Kyle Labrie on purpose. Those guys are teammates. I mean, they've been using each other that, might help Brian Johnson and, Hoffman to be lined up.
That's true, and now, guess what? Frontline has got a position up in the top 5, but he is surrounded left, corner, and behind by G&G teammates. He's going to be ganged up here on this restart.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think this is going to be one heck of a thing. I mean, on that even first stage when we saw them racing like it was the end of the race. So I think this is going to be probably one up that last stage if these guys have anything to say about it.
His car pulls down to pit road. We get set to go racing for stage number 2 for the Tucson Sound Art 200 here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Hoffman leads them back to green.
Yeah, just like I kind of expected. Johnson able to follow Hoffman right through, leaving Calabria a little bit on the, leaving out to dry a little bit. Even the 48 of Chris Johnson able to make it by. And look at the big run Josh R. Ward's getting here. He's going to get right by too. So that top line on that restart did not pan out like I'm sure Calabria wanted it to.
Saw Travis Manning exiting pit road. This is the first time he's been on track all night long. He is 30 laps down, or 35 laps down, so he's got a long road ahead of him. The battle raging on. Look out for John Ballew looking at the inside of Josh Ward. That Funk Josh Ward's Chevrolet having a rough time on this restart, falling back to the middle line. He's got front liners outside.
Oh, contact. The 52's around.
Oh, look out. Do they say? No, they're not. No, it's hard to the outside wall. Caution flag flies. Wachinski gets into it big time.
Oh, my word.
They're still wrecking back there, too. Bitts is involved. He was one of the guys started that off. Johnny Gatton Jr. got into it big. Alan Hinson is in there. Jared Phillips, I think, got a piece of it big time in the 77 car. He locked it down, just trying to avoid all of this. That was a messy incident.
Yeah, and it really kind of initiated happened there with the 87 getting into that 52. I mean, I think the 52 was just slow there, and nothing really he could have done. As we see the 87, just kind of clip his rear and send him around, and wow, a lot of guys involved in that. That is going to change everything here tonight.
We saw Wachinski getting involved in the big time. Noah Bitts was the driver that was really the one that collected everybody else by being stopped up on the outside line. There's probably a good 9-10 drivers in total that got collected up in this mess. It was not a pretty incident at all. Gonna take another look at it back. This was from further back in the field. I believe you're currently watching the 28 machine flying into this thing, and you're going to see the wreck starting to appear up in front of him. Where are you supposed to go? The track is blocked. You cannot go anywhere in a situation like that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, where do you go? I mean, there's nowhere to go. There's everywhere you're going, there's a car that's wrecked. So, yeah, it's just pretty tough for sure, and I just don't know what you do. I mean, you really are you just got to be hoping and praying, I guess.
It's a big shame that a lot of these guys got caught up just trying to check up to avoid this mess. Oh, boy.
Yeah, that's a big one there.
It just comes up on you. There's nothing you can do about it.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like a lot of these guys could have been better, maybe getting on the brakes, maybe, because one thing I've always been taught is you look really far ahead. You don't look at the car that's in front of you. You look at the car that's even way in front of you. You know what I mean? You try to always keep an eye up there. If you see even a puff of smoke, be ready to lay on them brakes. I think that could have saved some of these guys.
Well, I can tell you right now, one driver that took that advice a bit too literally was the 31 car, believe it or not. Now, what happened to the 31 driver, Mark Sanchez, I believe he had ended up trying to slam on his brakes to avoid all of this mess. And because he had to brake so hard, that actually sent him around, and he slid up and just kind of compacted the whole incident up at the front of the field. It was not a pretty mess for him, and I'd like to correct myself. I believe it might have been David Phillips. No, Jared Phillips. The 77 car is the one that kind of kicked that off. But it was all by himself with the 77 car. He had been trying to slow it down and spun himself out just doing that. So I guess sometimes you can take that advice a little bit too much to heart.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to lock these tires up too. I mean, you gotta definitely be aware on what the limit is, because I mean, you can't bring that car from that speed to zero that quickly. You definitely are going to have some problems, and you could make it worse. 100%. You're 100% right, especially if you have guys right behind you, too. I mean, if you have guys right behind you, you can't lay on that brake that hard because those guys might not be able to do the same thing. So it's almost one of those things to where, it's a lose-lose in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So about 8, 9, maybe 10 cars collected in total throughout all of that. Not a pretty sight to see on the racetrack. One we were hoping we wouldn't be able to see until later on in the race, but that's racing. You sometimes get those incidents, and usually they happen around the restarts, and that one, I believe, we didn't manage to go all of 2 or 3 laps before that took place. These restarts, they can be absolutely hectic with a larger field like this, and we had a lot of guys that were on the lap before that, and now you got about at least, we're talking 7 drivers that are now off of the lead lap. Now, 2 of those drivers did come in late, and one of them has now since left the server. It goes to show, though, just how devastating one of those big incidents can be.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, it could be huge. I mean, impact the whole race for you. You know, take you out of it quick, fast, and in a hurry, and you don't even know why. Really, I mean, you're just kind of like, you know, it literally happens in a microsecond that something goes wrong, and all of a sudden, oh, I'm not in the race anymore. You know, it can happen like that for sure. And one thing about it that makes it, you know, that more likely to happen, a wreck like that, is these guys are so hungry to make these passes early because they know they're on the newer tires. They can make it happen as this, you know, the tires start to wear out. Might not be, you know, the case.
Noah Bitts and Donnie Gatton Jr. have both taken their machines to the garage. They will not be joining us for the restart. Randy Drumhill, I believe, is just leaving pit road. Alan Hinson is still fixing damage. Brzezinski is still fixing some damage up as well. I see Paul Olson down there with damage. Paul Schmalenberg was one of the biggest drivers that got into that, and he is still fixing damage as well, but we're 1 to green. So you still got a big portion of the field left, thank goodness, but a significantly shorter green flag run now for this second stage. It's going to be about 25 laps before stage 2 comes to a close.
Yeah, definitely a great job to Clayton Hoffman up there. I mean, not going to be as good for him right now, though, considering he does not have Brian Johnson lined up right behind him. I think the best thing that he could do right now is try to leave a little bit early to allow Johnson, especially if Johnson is in his ear or he's in Johnson's ear, tell him when when you're going. That way he's able to get right behind you. That's, I think, his only thing he could do here is Chris Johnson's going to be hungry to try to take that spot away. And there he goes. He does exactly what I thought he would.
A very early launch from Clayton Hoffman. Brian Johnson will be able to tuck in line. Chris Johnson right behind them to make it a G&G 1, 2, 3 in the sprint down towards turn number 1. Look out for John Ballard and Kyle Abrito going side by side for 4th and 5th. They're going to see if they can maybe try to see if they can knock down the G&G crew from the top 3 positions.
Looks like a lot more tamer of a restart there, that's for sure. I think that helped that, you know, Hoffman did that, considering, you know, it helps spread the field out a good bit, too. Allows, you know, a little bit more room in between everybody. As it has pretty much single-filed, yeah.
And down to the turn number 1, except for John Ballard looking up the inside of Kyle Labrie again in the battle for 4th. And Ballard, I think, might take 4th place away here. Labrie's got a bit of draft to work with down the backstretch because the G&G crew is up top helping him out. But when it comes to the corners, when you're on fresh rubber, that bottom line is where you want to be. And John Ballard making good use of it at the moment.
Yeah, that Chevy's looking really, really fast right now. Definitely, I'm sure Reaper happy to be on board with that race car because he is looking good.
I got another one of those Reaper cars just in behind Chad Sullivan, that green 21 up on the outside line as well. Jeffrey Souza going to look to maybe tuck him live, but here comes Kenny Powell who wants a piece of this as well. How about Kenny Powell? Started back in 24th place, punched his way up into the top 10 in stage 1, and he is now on it here, trying to get another spot up in stage 2.
Yeah, Kenny's been fast all night. I think that incident really allowed him to, you know, capitalize. I think it helped a lot of guys out, to be honest with you. Thin the field out a little bit, give you, you know, because when you have so many cars on the racetrack, 36 race cars, it just gets very difficult to make passes. I mean, literally everywhere you go, there's a car blocking you.
It is still unnervingly close in the battle for the race lead as well. You can watch Kyle Labrie currently trying to run down Chris Johnson for 4th place, and John Ballard is looking to hound that 9 car to any mistake he can get. One wrong move, and it could prove dangerous here. Chris Johnson gets bustled up wide. Here comes John Ballard trying to fight the outside. Another Reaper car going for the inside. Looks like that front machine might find himself in a Reaper sandwich here in a brief second. Ballard goes high, and Sullivan cannot find the speed to go low into turn 3.
Yeah, I bet Labrie was if we had a heart rate monitor on him, I bet it was up in the 140s. Because, I mean, that looks scary. When you got 2 Reaper cars getting ready to make a sandwich out of you, it ain't pretty. And I'm sure he was probably pretty worried. But John Ballou able to get around Labrie after Labrie had already managed to get around him. So, you know, Ballou's got that long run pace, it seems like. I mean, of course, we haven't been on too terribly long of a run.
Not too terribly long a run for now. Looks like they're going to single file it out here and get themselves sorted for the longer stretch. 19 laps to go in stage number 2, coming to a close on lap 65. And that leaves plenty of racing left to go in this one as well. And Look at all the different lines the guys are already starting to take. Some are going slightly higher than others, some slightly lower. Is that just drivers trying to make up positions, or do you think they're actually gaining some speed from those different lines?
I think they are. I mean, I think the guys that maybe take the higher line, I mean, I notice, the higher line just seems to be so much faster on the longer run. I don't know how it does with tire conservation, though. I think that's going to be the thing that these guys really want to, hit that perfect line, is to have tire conservation. So I think a lot of these guys probably spend a lot of time testing or practicing, trying to figure out which line does give you the best, economy when it comes to your tires.
We got John Ballard with a huge head of steam. Clears Chris Johnson and almost tried to have a run on Brian Johnson as well. And it's turn number 3. Now that outside line, not only is it faster, but it doesn't burn up the tires as much either, which is why you see more and more drivers migrated up there the longer these runs go on. You still can keep up more time. It's not as fast, I guess, as the inside line on a fresh run, but it's faster than the inside line on a later run, and of course, you save some tires doing it as well. So there's no point in staying on the bottom side if you know it's not going to work. Chris Johnson finding that on the hard way right now. Just got passed by Labrie and Sullivan on the same straightaway, and that's going to put Sullivan and Labrie one step closer to that race lead.
Yeah, what's really sad, when you get locked on that bottom line, you burn up your tires a lot more for sure. And what are you supposed to do? You can't just not race. I mean, how are you supposed to get up there to the top when there's cars there? Definitely one of those things you got to consider. And also, when it comes to handling up there up top, it just seems like you're able to make the corner a whole lot better. I mean, just wide arcs, just carry so much more speed.
Speed is the key. We've seen a couple of drivers already, trying to gamble a little bit on what line they want to take and how exactly they want to run those lines. And for the most part, it's actually played out rather well for everybody in here. But sooner or later, you bet one too many chips on black, and well, we've already seen once this race what happens when that takes place. But we're hoping that it won't happen again throughout the remainder of the race. John Ballou looking for the inside on Brian Johnson to 3. Not close enough to go for a position, but he's thinking about it, and sooner or later, I can guarantee you that 88 car is going to go for it.
Oh, yeah, 100%. It just depends on which line he uses. I think he is trying to flirt with that top side. He's trying to figure out a way to get around here. And I think once he can break up Hoffman and Johnson, I think that's really going to be when he can maybe even challenge for the lead here. But, I mean, Johnson seems like he's struggling right now. I think this mid-run, he's not doing well. I mean, we saw that in the last stage. Seems like the mid-run, he just is not very good, but in the longer run, he seemed like he was actually pretty strong.
Everybody's pretty good in the first run. And if you're good in the long run, that's fine, but you still need to be good in the middle portion of those runs as well, which is usually, where you see a lot of these big gains starting to come from guys that can, preserve their stuff with how good their cars are early on. And that way they are able to push that much harder in the middle portion, so they're good on the long run as well. But you can push hard and then conserve in the middle, and then, push a little bit harder in the long run, but that's typically not necessarily so. Oh, huge crash! What just happened there? One car goes skyward!
I know the 41 was involved. Sure, what happened there?
What in the world was that? Heath Schneider got turned by McMeekin, I thought. Oh, I see what's happened here. You see that crossover gate there that opens up? He got stuck in that and just shot skyward.
Oh, my word.
Watch this. There you go. That tells the whole story. What on earth? And Kenny Powell nearly avoids that by the skin of his teeth. I have no words for that. I've never, ever seen something like that take place on a racetrack before, let alone in iRacing. That is incredible. On top of that, Travis Manning got into it hard. He spun out. McMeekin then crashed in turn 3 because of it as well. That is one of the most spectacular wrecks I think we've ever seen in the iRacing Stock Car Association.
Yeah, I think they should check on him. I mean, I don't think he's okay. The Infield Care Center is going to be busy after that one.
I have no words. I'm honestly speechless. I don't know what to make of that. I mean, there's nothing you can say. That probably wouldn't have been that bad of a wreck. It honestly wouldn't have been, but when he got stuck in that crossover gate, that's what made it bad, because he just got stuck and got hooked.
Yeah, you don't see accidents like that very often where you get launched to space. That's for sure. I mean, he can count himself among the 13 or 14 that have went to the moon. And that's definitely, we've had a drama-filled, second stage here. I mean, not a lot of drama in that first stage, but this second stage has definitely been a lot of drama. I'm curious to see if the intensity is going to keep on rising.
Corey Cook in the driver's radio here just asked if that man had a pilot's license. I'm gonna opt with no on that one, Brian. And the reason why I'm saying that is because he crashed down about as fast as he flew up.
Yeah, I was about to say, didn't have a very good takeoff there.
He had a great takeoff, and the landing needs work.
Yeah, what goes up must come down. It just depends on how hard you come down.
Oh my gosh.
That's pretty wild to see that for sure. I mean, especially looking at some of the cockpit camera picture, views we had on the stream there. Wow, definitely, he went for a ride. I wouldn't be surprised. You need to give him a sick bag after that one.
Pray he's not in VR.
Oh man, I used to have VR, and that was one of the worst things about it. Like when you had those flips.
I still do.
Definitely nothing like it, but that's one of the times when you don't want the immersion.
Yeah.
Imagine if you were in a motion rig. I mean, you get thrown out of the chair.
No.
Get thrown out of the chair.
It's like you go to the chiropractor's office. It's just like, how did you manage to snap your neck like this? Oh, I crashed
on iRacing.
Yeah, I crashed in a racing simulator. Don't even worry about it. Oh my gosh.
Wow. I mean, you don't see that every day. But there's only one place you're going to catch it. It's on the ISCA.
Or your average sea open race.
100%. But
While we're
Clayton
under
Kaufman,
caution.
doing good up here. Up in the lead. Brian Johnson right there. What are you going to say? Sorry, Nolan.
I was going to say, let's take a look at the point standings coming into today. Of course, we haven't been able to talk about it a whole lot. We know that, of course, you have the round of 6. And the way the points look coming into today, Justin Levine is actually your new points leader coming into today. He is 2 points up on Boyd Hogan, who is in turn 2 points up on Powell. Brian Johnston is 1 point back. Then comes Schaffner and Labrie. Total of 7 points, separating first through 6th place in that battle for the lead. Of course, now you get a win. That secures their ticket in to the Final Four. Pace car lights are out. It will be, correct if I'm wrong on this one here, Brian, with my math, but 7 laps to go in stage number 2.
Yeah, it's going to be a short jaunt here for sure. I don't think, a lot of these guys, I don't know if they pitted or not. I don't have my right overlay for that. I'm sorry about that. But, yeah, going to be difficult to say who's going to do well here. Considering, if you took tires that last one, you could end up getting some points here on this stage break. This next stage at lap 65. Is it worth it? Stage points are very important.
They really are. We've seen, these stages come down to so little, in the final runs. You need every half a point you can get, especially if you're, those guys that are right on that cut line. At the moment, it's just 1 point separating the guy that makes it in for the guy that doesn't. Now, of course, that will likely change drastically over these next 3 weeks. Or I guess especially the next 2 weeks and then, of course, tonight. But you never know what could happen. Anything can take place, in a playoff system such as this. We saw that with Clayton Hoffman, who is trying to see if he can go for some bragging rights and go for a clean sweep on the race tonight. He won stage 1. He's got 7 laps to try to win stage number 2.
Yeah, I think John Balu is going to be really the one to watch here. He's already been very hungry, been trying to pounce on Brian Johnson. I don't think that's changed. I think this start going to continue just like what we saw before.
The top 6 all managed to break away. Souza on back, still dropping. Battles on for second. Brian Johnson to be passed up here by John Balu, who's trying to go to the race lead. Chris Johnson and Kyle Labrie getting a little bit close for comfort on to turn 4.
Yeah, I don't think the drama's over here. Is John Balu, he needs all the help he can get. He had Labrie right there behind him, but Labrie not as quick as Balu, so really, he needs someone right behind him that is just as quick as him to really push him, give him that edge he needs to get past Johnson. Right now, it's just a battle right now as Johnson's able to get enough momentum in these straightaways to really keep him from actually surging ahead.
Oh, and just barely clears across Johnson's nose as well out of turn number 4. Labrie is on fire at the moment, and he's got 2 cars side by side in front of him. Oh, they might make contact. Brian Johnson getting close with John Bell. They keep it out of each other, but only just. Labrie's going to stick with Brian Johnson up on the top side for the time being, having a bit of connection difficulties himself.
Yeah, Labrie definitely blinking.
And for now, though, it looks like they'll be able to go strong in this fight, but it's getting a little bit too hairy for my liking, personally.
Yeah, this is definitely a person with severe anxiety's worst nightmare if you're in the middle of this.
5 laps remaining at the line.
Yeah, especially when you see someone blinking. I mean, that definitely causes a lot of undue stress.
How about Justin Levine?
3 wide, 19, and 3 wide, I think, with David Phillips up on the top. Who was that in the middle? I do believe that is
Sousa,
yeah. It kind of confuses me when I see that 14. That's not his actual number, I don't believe.
Yeah, it actually is. I believe he made that switch.
Because it says 29 on my overlay here. It says 29
yeah, mine too. I thought he switched the number, but we'll call him the 29 for the time being because that's what he's being officially scored as in this one. Coming to 3 laps to go, though, and Justin Levine, he wants a good finish today as well. He comes into this race the points leader. Wants to see if he can stay there for as long as possible. And he's going to split the gap and go 3 wide around Brian Littleton and Chad Sullivan trying to go 2 for 2 in the front straightaway.
Oh, this is definitely some scary driving back here. Brian Littleton up in 8th, looking like he's trying to challenge this 21 here, but looks like the Chad Sullivan getting a run on the top here along with Sousa. Oh, Brian Littleton getting very tight there. That could have ended badly there.
No.
Oh, there it is. John Ballou into the wall.
And Ballou out F4s. Pit road closes,
word.
No caution. Left that one early before he could cause a caution to end stage 2. Oh boy, the drama continues as we lose another.
Wow. What a call from him, though, to do that. I mean, that's a big call to make, considering you're not going to be at a pit and get those tires and get back out there. That must mean he is done for the night. Man, what an incident there.
Final lap of stage number 2. The top 3 have broken away big time. Result of all this battling further behind. Look at Corey Cook trying to throw it 3 wide of the inside of Petrella, and Chad Sullivan going to be going 3 abreast down the back straightaway. This fight still isn't over for spots that are for points. Stage points at that. Sullivan forces Petrella to back up for the middle line. But out of turn 4, it's Clayton Hoffman to take another victory. He'll be the winner in stage number 2.
Wow, what a race there for that stage win. Clayton Hoffman able to lock down both stage wins. I mean, it shows why he was in such a good position to win this championship. Unfortunate that that's not going to be the case.
Tell you what, I thought nothing could top Bristol last week, but already this race has thrown some curveballs at us that bring it pretty darn close. The race we've seen tonight is absolutely electric.
Yeah, it's definitely been exciting. Has me on the edge of my seat, that's for sure. I mean, all kinds of guys just really, it's almost like they're desperate to get that glory. I mean, some of the guys out here might not even be in the playoffs, but they want that glory. They want that honor of winning a race, even if you're not a playoff driver. Nothing wrong with winning a race.
And if you're on the edge of your seat like we are, well, consider subscribing then to the ISCA YouTube channel, as well as like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitch, wherever you happen to be watching us from tonight. Still yet more to come. We'll take a quick step away. Stage 2 complete. We're entering the 3rd and final stage. We'll get more into what that will mean in just a few moments.
There are moments that surprise and delight the mind and the senses. Introducing Sound Art, the world's first truly customizable, concealed, flat panel art speaker system. A revolutionary combination of incredible sound delivered from your most meaningful pictures. When art and technology intersect, there is a seamless blend of creativity and function.
I'm alive in the streetlight, falling at the stars in the moonlight. Every time I feel you close.
With Sound Art, anyone can print their own artwork or pick from numerous licensed artwork that we have. The possibilities are limitless. Enjoy beautiful and amazing sound throughout your home. The entire surface of your artwork generates incredibly robust sound. Your art never sounded so good.
Stage 2 comes to a close, and what a Stage 2 it was. Just absolutely thrilling from start to finish. We've already talked once to our Stage 1 winner, who is now our Stage 2 winner. Let's see if we can bring up the P2 finisher, though, in Stage number 2. Brian Johnson, you join us up here into the broadcast booth, and what an incredible battle for the lead it was for those closing laps.
Yeah, hey, guys. Yeah, that was fun. Fighting side by side with John there. Protecting that top, you know, he was fast. I hated that he got taken out like that, but yeah, just running the top, right behind Clayton, running some laps, keeping her clean.
I know you're not going to be so eager to give away, you know, your team secrets and all that sort of thing, but if possible, what's going to be the very rough outline? Of course, fuel is a question in stage number 3, the only stage where it is a factor. You think people will be racing as aggressively as they were in the first 2 stages?
Yeah, I think so. You know, given what's been going on in the NIS and A-Open this week, I mean, everyone's been going flat out for the first 10, 15, 20 laps. So I'm going to try to take it easy, save some tires, and follow Clayton as long as I can, see if we can stretch it out, and we'll come up with a game plan.
Well, then here's to hoping that you guys will be able to get yourself a game plan, and hopefully we'll be talking to you on the podium, if not in victory lane later on tonight. But Brian, anybody you'd like to shout out for us before we let you go here?
Yeah, shout out to Gas and Go Racing, Southern Spiral Pipe. Here we go. Hopefully we put on a good show for you guys.
Should be a fun one indeed. Thanks, Brian, for coming on up and giving us a chat, and we wish the best of luck in the remaining laps of the race.
Thanks, guys.
That was Brian Johnson, the P2 finisher in Stage 2. So we get set to go racing then for Stage number 3. Pretty much everybody came down to pit, save for 2 drivers. Olsen stayed out to get a lap back. Brian, Connor Mulligan also did not pit. He is out there, but he also pitted 13 laps ago under the caution prior to this one, where we had that magnificent incident. So Mulligan is out on older rubber, though. You reckon maybe strategy call?
Yeah, definitely could be very well a strategy call. I don't know how good it's going to work out, though. I mean, I feel like, you know, tires are very important at this racetrack. I mean, then again, I mean, the caution did come out, you know, not too long ago. So he might be okay, but definitely going to be hard to keep Clayton Hoffman behind him. And definitely going to be kind of the spoiler here for Clayton and Brian Johnson, is they're not going to be lined up together. And he's not going to be in control of this restart like he has been pretty much the entire race.
We'll have to wait and see how this restart is going to play out. Old tires can be a race killer when you're up against the field of freshies right behind you. Pace car down to pit road. And Connor Mulligan gets set to lead them off to the green. We're back underway for Stage 3.
Yeah, Connor trying to leave a little bit early. Definitely not going to help his case here, as the draft is so strong here. He's definitely probably, I think he's hoping for another caution here or something, because there goes Clayton right up underneath him like he's not moving.
Very easy pass for Clayton Hoffman to go back to the point. Mulligan is going to continue to fall further and further down the running order. Now, presently, 63 laps remaining, estimated fuel window of 45 laps. So there's definitely going to be room for a green flag pit stop, assuming we get a green flag run long enough for green flag stops to take place.
Yeah, I mean, with the race we've seen thus far, I mean, these guys have been driving pretty wild and crazy. I mean, you can see the desperation out there to try to get a victory or some type of good finish out here tonight. So you never know what could happen. Been very impressed with what Corey Cook's been able to do out here. I mean, he's been very fast. Ooh, the 14 getting very close, or the 29 getting very close with the 11. Oh, some contact with the wall a little bit there. Looks like they settled it out, though.
Connor Mulligan's driving a little bit dangerous considering he's got, all these guys that are on the lead lap up ahead of him. And of course, he is on the old tires still, so I'm surprised he's racing this aggressively to try to hold on to these spots. He's not going to be able to do it. He's just being outpaced in every single corner. I don't know where, he thinks he's going to be able to get any kind of speed, unless he can maybe get a run around the outside line as he's trying to get on Chad Sullivan, but on entry, he gets outpaced more and more.
Yeah, it really just shows you the importance of those tires. I mean, I bet he learned a lesson here tonight. Don't stay out like that.
Here's a beautiful shot looking down the back straightaway from the entry of turn number 3. You ride on board with Wayne Grossi, who's got a perfect battle of the Hornet's Nest of cars up in front of him. Now, the Hornet's Nest has not yet been stirred. Everybody's been, driving pretty civilly so far throughout the start of stage number 3. But as we know very well, with the race that's been like this one, it can only last so long.
Look at that. Calabri able to get underneath Brian Johnson and make that pass. Brian Johnson going to try to go right back around him here. The crossover.
Battle for P2.
I think this is the best thing Calabri can hope for. Try to break up Johnson and Hoffman. I think they have been working together all race long, and you have to cut them off. Johnson can't help him anymore. We got to split these two up.
And Labrie, with that runner on the outside line, though, might just be able to make this work. If he can stay ahead of Brian Johnson through the entry and middle of the corner, he'll be able to get him on exit, but a bit of a bobble for both drivers sees Labrie lose a lot of time through 3 and 4. They're now dead even coming down the front the pit straight here.
Yeah, and you got some really hungry drivers right behind. I mean, you got, Chris Johnson, Chad Sullivan, Corey Cook, all right there waiting to pounce if you make a mistake.
And Brian Johnson clears. Labrie has to tuck in line for 3rd place. Chris Johnson looking to do battle with Corey Cook in the battle for 4th place. Just in behind this grouping. Oh, just the outside line is J.R. Petrella getting a bit too close for comfort with that outside wall. You never want to be too familiar with the outside wall, especially on the exit of turn number 4. It will just come back to bite you so bad through that tri-oval.
100%. I mean, you look at 1 and 2, you don't go quite as quick through there. And out of 3 and 4, you feel like you got all the speed in the world to run that high line. I think that's where the high line really just makes itself known through there. But look at that. The 21, Chad Sullivan having a big wiggle there, touching the apron a little bit too much. It's going to allow the 29 of Souza to get underneath him.
And 3 wide with Chad Sullivan in the middle. Phillips the second on the bottom. Littleton up on top. Littleton trying to pull around. David Phillips the second can't do anything from the bottom. Chad Sullivan is going to be forced to back out from the middle line. Roy Hyde going to be trying to work his way around the outside of the 21 car as well. Taking full advantage of this. Wayne Grossi, unfortunately, cannot do the same.
Yeah, Sorry, go ahead.
They're still trying to go 3 abreast. Just now, you saw Sullivan tuck back in line.
That is unfortunate for Sullivan. He has lost a lot of ground. David Phillips, Roy Hyde, Brian Littleton, all those guys able to get around. Roy Hyde and David Phillips right now fighting side by side. As we see, I do believe that is... Who is that? I do believe... Is that Kenny Powell? I think he's multiple laps down, isn't he?
That he is. Got collected in one of those incidents earlier on in the race, and that big one. And he has been dropping down ever since. He is several laps down with severe engine damage, so he's just trying to, gain whatever points he can get, hoping that more people drop out of the race later on in this one. Chad Sullivan having a huge head of steam up on David Phillips the second down to turn number 3, and Phillips not able to stay well, not able to get in behind Chad Sullivan, still trying to do whatever he can to stay up ahead there in 9th place.
Yeah, Sullivan's going to be trying. He's going to be desperate to try to get that, all that distance he lost back here. I mean, he is falling back all the way back to 10th here. Actually, now 11th as Phillips and him battle side by side. But I'm definitely very impressed with what a lot of these guys, especially the newer guys. I mean, looking at Phillips, I mean, all the new guys that have shown up in this league, hit the ground running. I mean, not doing too bad running around here with these guys.
Tell you what, Phillips is struggling, though. You saw him just drop another spot. That was all the way back to Josh Schaffner, who not only initiated the pass, but then cleared him by a mile down the front straightaway. So Phillips having a rough time with that 89 car, trying to keep up with this leading grouping here. He might have to consider kind of dropping back a little bit more. He'll saving up some of his stuff for going out of the game later on in the run, closer to the pit window.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, lap traffic starting to really play a role as we saw Clayton Hoffman getting around the 41 here. He's passed a couple lap cars now, and that could pose some problems from some of these guys. I mean, this is one of those racetracks where it's hard to know where lap traffic is going to be, considering everyone's running everywhere on the racetrack.
Oh, yeah. It's almost impossible to tell where exactly they're going to be because a lot of the times, lap cars, they have their own thoughts on where they think out of the way is, especially in different portions of the racetrack. So they find themselves kind of weaving around a little bit. And that's why primarily drivers, typically tell lap traffic to just hold your line. They'll find their way around you.
Yeah, for sure. And intuitively, I mean, usually what you see at racetracks is hold the top. Stay high, stay high. Mm-hmm. This racetrack is not so simple. I mean, a lot of these guys are running the top of the racetrack, so it doesn't really work out as much to stay high. I think the better place for a lot of these lap traffic to be is probably the bottom.
See that drone shot with that flyover of Corey Cook and Jeffrey Souza out of turn number 4. Oh, and a bit of a contact there for Corey Cook coming into turn number 1. Just glanced off the wall. Doesn't seem to have impacted that 61 car too much. As I say, that really washes wide on corner exits, so might have kind of set him off rhythm, and that's going to open up the door for Petrella to throw one down the inside to try to go for 6th.
Yeah, I think Corey Cook's definitely suffering from a very bad tight condition right now, as that's going to allow, like you said, the 42 of JR to be able to make that pass happen in that Abruzzi 42. And Roy Hyde right there going to follow right behind him. Roy Hyde been on a mission here. He's up in 7th.
19, going to be 20 laps into the stint, almost halfway through a full fuel window. And about halfway to our first green flag pit stop window as well. There are 47 laps to go. So in about 2 laps time, you'll be able to come down pit road and you should be able to make it on fuel. It's a little bit questionable, though, at the moment. If you wanted to come down now, you might be able to make it, but you're doing a lot of fuel saving earlier or later in the run.
Yeah, I think, it's definitely going to be a question of when you come down. I don't think as soon as the window opens up, I don't think that's really smart to take it. I've seen, really, it seems like if you wait a little bit longer than everybody else, maybe just a couple laps, have those fresher tires, it really pays off, it seems like. But, I mean, I think it really depends on the driver. I think, if you're a quality driver, you can make both strategies work, short pit or, overcut.
So for the time being, all of the action race that we were seeing throughout stages 1 and 2 has died off, and this is typically what we see in stage number 3. Now that's when it starts to really settle in. You still got a long way to go. There's no point, racing as hard as you did for those points early on, especially if you don't have anything to gain in the next 5-10 laps or so. So a lot of these guys are more content to kind of just run around a little bit. They know they don't need to push hard. They know they're going to be coming down pit road yet. You may as well just kind of save your stuff and see if you can stretch this first out as long as you can, because that could mean you're spending less time on pit road later on.
Well, I'll tell you what, the 29 right now looking very strong, trying to get around Chris Johnson, looking for any way, looking like he's starting with maybe taking the bottom.
He certainly thought about it, decided not to go for it, though. You still see Souza trying to also work on Chris Johnson in the battle for P4. That being said, it really has only been just, a few looks here or there. Nothing too major that Chris Johnson has had to worry about. Souza's trying to go for it here, though, and actually does manage to pull alongside. out of turn number 2. Souza dominated off that corner perfectly, but look at the draft run that Chris Johnson gets down that back straightaway. Because Souza made that look, he can't get as good of a run through 3 and 4 as I think he might have liked.
Yeah, he's definitely having some trouble here. I mean, we've seen that so many times here tonight already. I mean, trying to look on the inside, making a pass, and if you don't have help, it just does not work. And it's actually hurting him a little bit here, maybe falling back into the clutches of the 42 at JR.
Currently riding on board with Jeffrey Souza. 5th place at the moment. He started all the way up in 3rd, so Souza hoping to maybe work his way up to the podium, getting a little bit close there to the left rear quarter panel of Chris Johnson. They try to pull a little bit of a side draft maybe on the 48, see if they can maybe suck him back and pull alongside that way, but it hasn't been working out so far. Now might try the outside line here to see if he can get a run that way.
Yeah, I think that's the best call. Try to take the outside. I don't feel like that bottom line right now is just not an option, especially with how old these tires are. I mean, these guys pitted quite a while ago.
Catching more lap traffic just up front. That is Kenny Powell once again. Still running lap 81 with the 24 machine. These guys on the lead lap running lap 94.
And we saw Chad Sullivan start to, he was falling through the field before. He was back there in 11. He's fought his way back up to 7th, able to get around Roy Hyde just now. But look at that, Brian Littleton trying to look in on Josh Schaffner.
Oh, I guess.
Oh, Kenny Powell into the outside wall. There's some problems here. Kenny catches it. That was scary there.
Yeah, got to that wall. Yeah, right. Big time. And did he even make I think he made contact a little bit with Chad Sullivan.
I think
he did.
Something.
Yeah, it sent Powell back up into the outside wall. So contact with lap traffic sends Kenny Powell back into the outside wall. So he hit it twice.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for him for sure. I mean, add insult to injury. Curious to see if that caused any damage on the 21, though.
I don't think it did. I mean, I'm looking at it now. There was some initially, but I think he just got away with it. The gods of iRacing, so to speak, they have seemed to have blessed Chad Sullivan this day, as he does not have any, at least visible damage on his 21 Reaper Speed Labs Ford Mustang, which is obviously good news for Chad Sullivan, but no doubt he's going to be a little bit more wary of the cars around him for some time because of it.
100%. I mean, that's just one of the things about lap traffic. I mean, Kenny Powell probably couldn't have done anything there. I mean, he tried to be as predictable as he possibly could. But, I mean, when these tires start wearing, it's harder to negotiate your way around. And I think we're reaching that point now, though. I think we're going to see a lot of guys starting to take that opportunity to go down pit road.
These guys have been out there for coming up on 30 laps this time by. You got 37.5 laps left remaining, so now is pretty much right when that pit window starts to open on up, but you start to think about, is it worth it staying out there until fuel is done, or do you want to come on in now and get it over with? Paul Olson is coming in soon, but of course he is off cycle and is 12 laps down, so he's running a drastically different pit strategy than anybody else out there on the track.
100%. I have a feeling, one thing about a track like this, a mile and a half, you don't want to go in alone, of course. So I feel like Hoffman and Johnson probably going to pit at the same time here. I know they're probably in each other's ears talking about when they're going to go pit. Curious to see what these other guys' strategies are.
I know Mark Sanchez came down this last lap by. Jeffrey Souza making a dive on the pit road. So more and more drivers starting to open up that window for themselves and thinking now is the time that I want to come on down. Paul Olson just now leaving pit road as well. Clayton Hoffman still holds the race lead. Johnson second, Labrie third, Chris Johnson fourth, Petrella in fifth. And so far from there is another 2 or so seconds back to Chad Sullivan running out there in the 6th position. They're still catching lap traffic. They just got back past Alan Hinson, your lead left field. It's not been an easy run so far throughout a lot of these guys. It's been a tiring race, so to speak, and it's not quite over yet. Connor Mulligan coming down to pit road. So is Craig Johnson, also down with him.
Yeah, very interesting. Like I said, I still feel like waiting a little bit of time out here, maybe a couple laps after the majority starts going down. I think that's going to be really beneficial. So I think that's what Clayton and Brian Hoffman are probably thinking about doing here, just kind of like biding their time. You want to have the best tires of anybody by the end of this thing, considering, I mean, it's just shocking to see how much more time you can make up if you wait a little bit longer.
Oh, yeah. And, of course, the undercut can definitely be something you need to think about as well. Oh, here we go. Clayton Hoffman, race leader, just called it in. Pitting this time by. So the floodgates will surely start to open now. Clayton Hoffman's coming in. So is Kyle Labrie. The other drivers in this lead lap pack stay out. Josh Schaffner comes down. So those three drivers all coming in pit road this time by.
What a performance there from Clayton Hoffman, too, getting down pit road. I mean, he barely had control of that race car getting it stopped. I mean, wow. Just shows you the amount of risk that these guys are willing to take here to get all they can on pit road.
Chris and Brian Johnson both call that they are pitting in. Paul Regney comes down with them. The Ford car flying into pit road, and I don't think he slowed that thing down in time. Might have gotten a speeding penalty with Brian Johnson. We'll have to wait and see. But Chris Johnson is in. Petrella is in. Chad Sullivan's down. So is David Phillips II.
Very interesting call here from Brian Littleton and Roy Hyde. They both have elected to stay out another lap. Curious to see how that's going to affect. They are going to have newer tires and everyone when they come out, but I don't know if it's going to be good enough to get them where they want to go.
Wait to see if Brian Johnson will have to wait in his stall a little bit longer if he got a speeding penalty entering pit road, and I think he might have. 20 seconds and counting for the Ford car. He did get a penalty. Make it 25. Brian Johnson too fast on entry. Disaster for the G&G number 4, who's been running up in the top 5 all day long.
Yeah, that is so unfortunate. It just shows you, I mean, when people say that you can win and lose a race on pit road, they mean it. It's not, it's definitely true. But right now, Corey Cook scored as the leader.
Brian Littleton and Roy Hyde are both down pit road still, and Brian Johnson has finally managed to leave pit road, but with a 54-second stop, Brian Johnson has lost over a lap because of that. That is absolute disaster for him. He is down 2 now. His race is effectively over, and those little moments, they could definitely cost you a race. Hoffman now is your race. Well, he's not your net race leader. That is actually Jeffrey Souza, who pitted about 3 laps prior.
But yeah, I definitely have a feeling that Hoffman is going to be taking the lead here shortly. And look at the gap he's already put on Kyle Labrie. I mean, those guys came, into pit road around the same time and were right there on each other on entrance. Curious to see maybe if Labrie didn't do as well on exit, or maybe didn't, had a longer of a pit stop.
And you see Hoffman reeling in Jeffrey Souza, even with just 3-lap fresher tires. Hoffman is running that 29 car down and goes to the inside line. Souza makes room. Clayton Hoffman is the new net race leader as Wayne Grossi comes down, which will promote that number 92 car now up to 4th.
Yeah, it's shocking when you see just how much, 2 or 3 laps, how much of a difference it makes. But it makes all the difference in the world. I mean, you say, oh, it's just 3 laps. I mean, that means everything, really, when it comes to tire life.
Especially with, the high downforce, low horsepower package that just chews up tires, especially at tracks like this one. It is so critical to be on the freshest tires on the field to make up the most amount of time. Josh Ward is in pit road, coming down in from 3rd place. That will put Clayton Hoffman back up onto the podium. Justin Levine and Corey Cook are now 2 of the only drivers who were waiting on to come back down.
Yeah, interesting in Justin Levine making this call. I feel like this is an act of desperation. I mean, you said that he is the points leader. Well, I mean, he wants it to stay that way, and he's probably banking he wants a caution.
Absolutely. I couldn't think, honestly, about why he would be doing anything different here unless he wanted to try to take the race lead away under caution or at least lose as little time as possible. And Levine has moved up a lot of positions, it's worth noting. Now, this is still before the pit window cycles up, but at the moment, he's in 2nd place after starting 28th. That's not bad at all, but he is going to be losing a lot of those positions when he eventually comes down pit road, which he's going to do here. Justin Levine down pit road.
And look at the Levine's car. I mean, he's got some front end damage, too. I think that's why he's been having some trouble here tonight.
Oh, yeah, he got that damage relatively early on because of some struggles with the caution earlier on. And, well, now he is in pit road and is going to be losing a boatload of time here. I'm guessing about half a lap he'll lose to Clayton Hoffman by the time he's out of pit road. Might even be more.
Yeah, for sure. And definitely a great job from Souza. I mean, he's even though, he did the undercut, this is going to be a good point state for him, even though he might not be in the playoffs. I mean, it's still, going to be a good, solid finish for him if he can hold off all these other guys that may be coming up here.
Well, and of course, this actually will still put him, it'll be a good point state for him because he also races in the normal Cup Series as well, which is presently underway. And of course, this is round number 2 of that official Cup Series, and he is presently sitting, some ways down in those point standings. In fact, not even on the point standings. Didn't race over at Bristol last week. So this is going to be a great point haul for Jeffrey Souza.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't blame him for missing Bristol. I mean, definitely a track that creates a lot of drama, a lot of short track tempers. I'm sure these guys are glad to be at Vegas.
Corey Cook has entered pit road. That makes Clayton Hoffman the new official race leader out on course. So Hoffman returns to the point and now has over a second gap with between himself and Jeffrey Souza. Souza as well is under fire, side by side with Kyle Labrie down the back straightaway. The 9 car going to pick up P2.
Yeah, if Souza can just stay in front of Chris Johnson, which Chris Johnson's quite a bit back. I mean, about 4 seconds. He could pick up a podium position here. I mean, it'd be very good for him. Definitely got to shout out Greg Wachinski. I mean, you see that 5 car pretty much annihilated. Still out there driving it. I mean, you always got to love when someone is willing to stay out there even when, things look bad.
Well, you never know. You might get an incident later on in the race that takes out, another 5-10 drivers. And that's another free 5-10 spots for you because they are all going to have too much damage to get fixed. And they might even come out on your lap, and you can even battle with them before the race is over. That's why I always say, it's never quite over until it's over. Now, if it's the white flag lap, okay, fair enough. You're 12 laps down. You're not going to gain anything else by staying out, but you may as well at that point. But, I mean, hey, you don't quit just because you're having a bad race. Now, the sad thing is for Greg Wachinski, he's not going to gain any more positions. At this point, we come into this race with 20 laps to go, and he is almost 30 laps down for just the next closest driver, 48 down for the field. He is not getting anything by staying out there. In fact, he has only been trying to pick up spots from other guys that have retired. In fact, he just picked up another spot on John Balu just 2 laps ago.
Well, hey, there you go. Nothing wrong with that for sure. And I feel like Hoffman's got this thing pretty much on lock right now. I mean, Kyle Labrie is his closest competition. Last time by, though, Hoffman able to turn a 30.569, Labrie 30.719. So he needs to pick up the pace if he has any hope of even trying to win this race, as the time is clicking off quick. Not a lot of racing left.
The battle's on, by the way, for 4th place as well. Chad Sullivan looking to duke it out with Chris Johnson in the 48. Sullivan just made a pass on Petrella a couple of laps ago, and now looks for the inside on the G&G Racing number 48. But Sullivan's Reaper Speed Labs Mustang is going to have to tuck in line. Might have to wait until next time by down the front stretch.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be very difficult to make passes, especially right now, considering the tires are starting to get in that period now to where it's harder and harder to make those passes. Definitely going to have some desperation, though. Sullivan going to desperately want to get around Johnson, and Johnson's not going to make it easy for him, I don't think, here, as he looks like he's wanting to be a little bit higher on the racetrack. Sullivan trying to look on the bottom. I mean, that bottom line has just been unsuccessful so far tonight.
It's great in, the first couple of laps if you're on fresh rubber when you're still getting up to speed. Not good, though, later on. About 5 or so laps in, that is when that outside line really starts to come into play and where you want to move up to the top side as quick as you can. You're not going to gain anything else by, sitting on the bottom side. You just have to stick it up to the top. This is quite the battle, though, for 4th, 5th, and 6th. We've got these 3 cars all under a blanket. Chris Johnson leads them, Sullivan 5th, and Petrella just hanging back in the 6th position. They got nobody really in front of them for position. They got nobody behind them. It's just them by themselves at the moment with some lap traffic here and there.
And watching Josh Schaffner back here, the 50 and 7th, he's got Brian Johnson right there behind him. But even further back there, a really big race going on right now is David Phillips, Roy Hyde, and Brian Littleton all fighting to stay in the top 10 here.
That's true. You got battles going on all throughout the field, and you just saw Roy Hyde complete the pass on Brian Littleton for P number 9. Littleton trying to see if maybe he can fight back. Now, they are not necessarily at risk of having to drop outside the top 10 because there's a whole straightaway separating themselves in 11th place.
Sorry about that.
Well, they are catching Josh Schaffner, so the Schaffner is trying to fight to stay up where he is inside the top 10. This is a 4-car battle that is still yet to be decided as well, with so few laps remaining.
Yeah, definitely. It's getting down to the breaking point. These guys really need to get it together, get it going. But I feel like a lot of these guys, I said waiting a little bit longer to pit. There is a limit to that. You don't need to wait too long. I mean, I think Hoffman, he pitted at just the right time. I feel like, that's why he's in the lead. I mean, and
Roy
he
Hyde
is doing a great job.
And Hyde completes the pass on Phillips. That was for 8th place.
Look at how fast he's catching up to Schaffner. Wow, this is going to be a pass for 7th here.
You see how fast Littleton clears just in behind from Phillips, bumping that 8-9 car now down to the 10th position. Now, this lap traffic in front of them here could play a factor as well. I got Brian Johnson up here, who has a clean car, but got caught out by a speeding penalty, and that is what sees the Ford car. We're talking, 1 lap down, just trying to work his way up and maybe see if he can finish the race as well. Now, Brian Johnson is not the lucky dog driver either. So whether he'll get that, we'll have to wait and see if he gets another position throughout this race. Look at Hyde. Going to make a run on Schaffner here, coming down for turn number 3.
And this is that really pivotal moment, too, where we could see a caution or something like that. These guys are, on a little bit older tires, probably struggling a little bit, trying to get every spot they can. This could be the time we see a caution and really change this entire race.
Wouldn't it be the first time we've seen a caution in the closing laps in one of these races? Not even in the last 10 laps. We're 11 laps to go this time by. You just never know with a race like this. It could literally come up at any time. There's no warning when a caution can come. We even saw it earlier on. Everything's going fine 1 second, and then all of a sudden the next, you got 4 cars facing backwards.
Pretty impressive to see Schaffner able to fight off Roy Hyde like that. Now Roy Hyde losing the position to Brian Littleton. Schaffner definitely, he has the racecraft to be able to fight those guys off. I mean, even though they might have he might have a deficit on tire, where definitely doing a great job in that Cortiva race car.
10 laps remaining here in the Tucson Sound R 200 at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. To sum up the top 10, Clayton Hoffman still leads by 2.8 seconds. Jeffrey Souza just about a second behind in the 3rd position. Chris Johnson, Chad Sullivan, and Jared Petrella are in a battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th. Rounded to the top 10 is the battle we've been keeping an eye on with Josh Schaffner, Brian Littleton, Roy Hyde, and David Phillips II. Still duking it out for those final spots inside the top 10 with Phillips and Hyde side by side through turn 4.
Yeah, what a race this been thus far. Getting closer and closer to its conclusion. Everybody fighting hard for position. One thing I'd like to really shout out, Jeffrey Souza, wow, what a job. You mentioned him before. He's up in 3rd place. Did that short pit. It has worked out really good for him. Shockingly, he's up in 3rd. What a job for him tonight.
He dropped quite a ways as well in the early run, if you remember, and he's worked his way up, and he is set to finish, on the podium here, which would be a great thing for him. But I honestly think the driver we need to talk about the most for making positions is Brian Littleton. He's in 8th place at the moment. Yes, it's a bit further back than Souza is. Plus 24 positions, though, from where he started tonight. You're not going to get much better than that.
Oh, no, definitely not. I feel like that Michelob Ultra machine has done a great job here tonight. And, always something to behold when someone's able to make up that many positions. Oh, yeah, it might not be a top 5, but it is the top 10. And he made up, like you said, 24 positions. That is insanity, I think. And just goes to show you, long run or short run speed is not everything. It's all about having the full package here, and he's definitely showed that.
And I like how, there might be the occasional person that might say, oh, well, he made some of this up with all the big ones we had earlier. In fact, he didn't. Only 2 of the positions he's gained have drivers involved in wrecks. All the others, he has passed legitimately on track.
Yeah, and to be honest, I mean, I've known Brian Littleton for about a year. I mean, I've actually done some races with him before and other leagues that I've been involved with, and he's always been very fast. He's one of those kind of guys, you hand him a setup, he jumps in the race, and he's fast. A lot of times the setups I can't drive either.
He's just fast that way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, some guys are just like that. I definitely have high hopes for the future of, Brian Littleton for sure as next season comes along.
It'll be 4 to go this next time by. Looking back to Kyle Labrie, that's Jeffrey Sousa in third place. That white Mustang that just faded out in the background. You can presently see Labrie looking up the inside of Robin Patgill's number 17, the Tucson Sound Art Machine. And about to catch up to Randy Drumhiller as well, running in the 18th position. Currently, there are only 17 drivers on the lead lap. Could even be 16 by this race's end.
What's really shocking, though, is Sousa is not far behind Labrie, and Labrie waited a little bit longer to pit here. So, I mean, just insane performance that this 14 or this 29 has put on here. I mean, just shocking to say the least. I mean, he, really has exemplified it. If that was a driver of the night, I think he'd be there.
3 laps remaining now for the race leaders. Clayton Hoffman running around through turns 1 and 2. He's just got 2.5 more laps to negotiate, and he is going to be smooth sailing from here on out to the end of this race. It's been a chaotic one of the first 2 stages. I'm going to be real with you. We had quite a few cautions in those early runs. But in Stage 3, it has calmed down a lot. I don't even think we've had, we've only had like maybe 1 caution here in Stage number 3. And that has been about it. In fact, I'm looking at it now. Stage 3 has gone caution-free thus far, which really goes to show, how much you can have a green flag run if you just put your mind to it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I feel like it all comes down to, I mean, this is the stage you want to be green. I mean, considering that's when, all the hard work you spend building that setup for the long run, that's when it really comes into play. I mean, this is, you don't want a yellow to come out, of course, late in the race and spoil that for you. Of course, it makes it very exciting for us broadcasters. But I mean, it definitely for the driver. They don't want that caution considering they want that long run. If you ever hear someone lead, everybody else in the back is like, oh, man, I could use a caution right now. That Clayton Hoffman is praying.
3 wide for 15th place into turn number 3. Cook trapped in the middle right in front of the race leaders. And they still have a lap to go yet as well. This battle is not finished yet. But Hoffman out of turn number 4. The 92 car takes victory in the Tucson Sound Art 200 here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Labrie in second, Sousa in third. And here comes the battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th. And the battle for 7th just behind them.
What a race. I mean, wow, Clayton definitely had the whole package. I mean, no wonder he was such a favorite to be the champion, and unfortunate for him. But I mean, I know we're going to see his name in lights even more often. I mean, definitely going to see his name in lights here tonight as he able to bring home the win here. A little bit of contact there with I'm looking at Joffrey Sousa and I do believe Chris Johnson. I'm curious if maybe they're upset with one another.
It's just a love tap. I've seen that plenty of times before.
Well, definitely what a great race. I mean, for sure. Definitely lived up to expectations. You couldn't ask for a better Vegas race.
Quentin Hoffman burns it down on the front straightaway. He takes victory here in the Tucson Sound Art 200. Kyle Labrie is going to be sitting it off in second place. Jeffrey Sousa rounds out the podium with Chris Johnson in 4th. Chad Sullivan sits in 5th with J.R. Petrella in 6th. Josh Schaffner in 7th place. Brian Littleton, most spots gained, started 32nd. He finishes in 8th place. Roy Hyde in 9th with David Phillips II rounding out the top 10, Brian.
100%. What a great race. Sorry, I got to pull my standings up again. I'm sorry about that, Nolan. But, in 10th place here, 11th place here, we have Justin Levine. 7th is going to be 12th is going to be Wayne Grossi. 13th, Josh R. Ward. 14th, Mark Sanchez. 15th, Corey Cook. 16th, Connor McCulkin. 17th, Craig Johnson. And 18th, Robert Pattengale. 19th, Randy Drumhiller. 20th, Jarrett Phillips.
21st place is Brian Johnson. Paul Rainey, 22nd place. And from there, we drop right off through the timing order. Another 14 laps back is Kenny Powell with Paul Olson in 24th. Matthew McMeekin in 25th. Alan Hinson, one of the rookies, finishes it out in 26th place, 28 laps down, with Greg Wachinski in 27th. John Ballard, 28th. Heath Schneider, 29th. And Seth Hollander not finishing the race down in 30th.
Chuck Phillips going to be in 31st. Paul Smallenberg in 32nd. Donnie Gotten Jr., 33rd. Noah Bitts, 34th. John Mullins, 35th. Travis Manning, 36th. Unfortunate for a lot of those drivers. A lot of laps down. I mean, just unfortunate, especially for people like John Ballew and Noah Bitts, who, had such good potential to have good finishes here tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Such a shame, for a lot of the guys, that had the hopes of maybe getting good finishes and, not having so much success on being able to get the good finishes that I think they would have hoped. But hey, it's better than nothing. That is safe to say. Well, with these, standings complete, we'll take a rundown and we'll go down to the podium here. We'll talk to some of the drivers and we'll start from the bottom. We'll work our way up. Jeffrey Souza picking up a third place. Looked a bit rough for you in the early stages, but you managed to claw your way back to that third position.
Yes, sir. It was a tough race out there, honestly. It was fun racing, though, for all of us. I threw a lot of things at the car before the race tonight just because I haven't been happy really with it all week long, and it ended up working there.
Well, stage 1 ended up going completely green. Stage 2 was where we got a lot of the chaos. Then stage 3 went completely clean as well. What do you think the different dynamics were between those stages that caused them to play out so differently from each other?
Well, I know stage 1 we basically were right there put up together. After stage 2 ended, I think stage 2, that big accident we had on the back stretch, and then we had one in the front stretch after the restart too. That ended up taking out a lot of guys, and I think it really ended up just making sure everybody knew they didn't want to get freight trained, so they kind of just stayed in line, and that last stage was clean until we pitted, and then once we pitted, everyone got separated and just cleaned out, basically.
Talladega Super Speedway is up next, and obviously that is a track that is driven very differently in recent months, due to the new draft packages that have been implemented by iRacing. What's your thoughts going over into a race that might be more about teamwork than anything?
Well, I think that's honestly going to be tough because I don't have any teammates in here. I might get one or two that ran last season jump in for Talladega if they can. But I ran one race at Daytona earlier a few weeks ago, and, it really just came down to holding you kind of similar to what we had here tonight. You kind of just don't want to be in that wrong lane, and you got to pick which time you want to really go and when you want to just save your stuff. So I think it's going to be fun. I think you might see some single file racing early, and then by the end, I think you're going to see a lot of people trying to push it, try to do some tandem drafting and trying to do some other things. So I think it'll be fun, that's for sure.
Well, hopefully it'll be a fun race for you, just as we're hoping it'll be for us. So before we let you go then, Jeffrey, anybody you'd like to shout out for us for your number 29 machine?
Yeah, I want to shout out my brother, who you can probably hear in the background. He's very loud. He just finished his league race. So him, my family, mom, dad, everyone there, and everyone at Triad Racing, ERG, Great Lakes, and Citrix too. We've really put a lot of time in this week trying to get this thing where it needs to be, and we're still missing a little bit of something there on long run, but that might just be the person behind the seat. So we'll get better, and we'll be out there at Talladega.
Well, here's hoping that you'll find yourself with a great race over at Talladega, and we wish you the best of luck going forward, Jeffrey. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
That was Jeffrey Souza bringing it home in third place tonight, and that moves us up to Kyle Labrie, a driver who we thought might be more in the midfield from a 15th place qualifying, but Brian, you're standing by with our number 2 finisher.
Yeah, for sure. Kyle Labrie put on an excellent race here tonight. The 9 car, was up against a lot of odds here, fighting against Clayton and Brian Johnson. Were you happy when you saw Johnson have his trouble?
I didn't really know Johnson had any trouble. I just know that whatever happened, he wasn't on the relative. I don't even know what happened.
Well, he actually got a penalty, but yeah, you seem like you were really the spoiler here for Hoffman and Brian Johnson. Of course, Hoffman still won the race, but I mean, you definitely seem to have one of the best chances of dethroning him from winning this race here. Do you feel like he made a little bit of mistakes on pit exit or something like that? Because I saw whenever you and Hoffman on that last green flag pit stop, you were right there with him. What happened there that caused you to have so much distance between the two of you?
Yeah, I was able to. I was actually playing nice up there with the two of them. I didn't want to. I just wanted to stay close for pit stops. And when Clayton announced he was coming down a pit road, I jumped down with him. And when you wiggle out a pit road and you give Clayton Hoffman a second and a half ahead of you, he's able to save and do whatever he needs to do to stay up there. He's able to pull a little bit better draft off the lap cars. And when I'm not able to push Clayton to burn his stuff up, he's able to just, drive away. And I think that ultimately came down to it, just driver mistake on pit exit.
Well, definitely shows you how important pit lane can be. For sure, you can win and lose a race off of pit lane, but still excellent work to you, man. I mean, does this give you any confidence going into Talladega?
Absolutely. Definitely a lot of guys running the Super Cup had some bad luck today. This is a great points race for us. Would have loved to have been able to lock myself in because you just don't know what's going to happen at Talladega. You don't know what's going to happen at the Roval, but a very good points day. Definitely wanted to thank everyone at Frontline. Dan was able to put something together for me really quick right before we started this, so I appreciate the work he put in to help me out tonight. And everyone over at Frontline and Bruzy Racewear. We just had a good car. When it comes to Talladega, you're flipping a coin, and hopefully it stays out on top. Hopefully we gained enough points tonight.
Well, you definitely went right along to my next question. Who we shouting out? So anybody else you're shouting out?
Well, my wife's sitting in the living room next door, listening to me, laughing at me. But I'd like to thank her for letting me do this on Thursday nights. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's always very important for your loved one because I mean, hey, if she ain't happy, you ain't happy. So definitely good call trying to make sure she's okay with you racing. Well, we thank you so much, and I'll pass it back to you, Nolan.
So that was Kyle Labrie, your P2 finisher from the Tucson Sound Art 200 at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Going to move it on up to the race winner, Clayton Hoffman, joining us up here in the booth. Clayton, we talked to you in stage 1. You went ahead to win stage 2, and you end up sweeping the race and take the race win as well.
Yeah, no, it feels pretty good. Had great teamwork with Brian. We kind of just tried to tandem draft, and we were trying to see if we could battle it out for the win there at the end. We knew we both had really long run cars, and we were fortunate enough to get a long run, but fortunately he had that penalty that cost him a lap. So that was kind of unfortunate, but I just try to stick to what I knew with my car, and that was really good on the long run, and just try to make sure I could stay out in front.
You ended up coming in a few laps later on than Jeffrey Souza did, and that cost you the race lead for a few laps. You were able to get him back pretty quickly, though. Were you ever concerned, though, about how much of a fight he would be putting up, or did you kind of always think you had it in the bag there?
I hadn't passed him as early as I did when I caught him. I was definitely thinking about that and kind of getting worried about that, but I was able to get a good run on him, and he didn't block me. He let me by pretty much without a big fight. So since I was able to get by him really quick, it was a pretty big relief, honestly.
We got Jeffrey's opinions on this well, but we may as well get yours too. Talladega comes up next, a track that, could actually benefit you guys over at G&G, having such a strong force of 6 cars plus over there. Do you think you'll be able to have an easy time at Talladega, or do you think it'll be a much harder fight than this week was?
The Zero package is just so much single file. It's going to take a lot of really close teamwork to try to even make outside lane work. So it's going to come down to really a race of survival and try to stay up front as often and as much as we can.
Well, then here's hoping that you'll find yourself with a good race, and I know you got a good team behind you, so you should be able to, at least have, an easier time than some others might over at Talladega Super Speedway in just 1 week's time. But before I let you go, Clayton, anybody you'd like to shout out for us here tonight?
I'd like to thank Team G&G, Kenny. Thank you guys in the booth. Thank ButtKicker for sponsoring the league. Thank Tucson Sound Art again for sponsoring the race here.
And thank you, Clayton, for taking the time to join us up here once again. And we wish you the best of luck next week at Talladega.
Thank you. See you then.
So that is going to do it for the driver interviews tonight here, Brian, and that will also do it for the race for the Tucson Sound Art 200 here from the gambling capital of the world. It's been an entertaining race so far and an eventful one at that. Of course, it's the biggest, baddest racetrack in the NASCAR calendar coming on up in just 1 week's time in Alabama. What's your thoughts as we head on over to good old Talladega?
Well, I mean, I feel like everybody that did not get the points they need tonight, I think they're definitely going to be on edge coming on Talladega, considering we know how much of a you never know. It's like a roll of the dice there. I mean, we talk about how Vegas is the gambling capital of the world. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of gambling at Talladega.
Well, here's the hoping then that we'll find ourselves with another good race over at Talladega. And, of course, we would like to wish everybody else a good night as well. Thank you for joining us for more racing on Thursday nights here for the iRacing Stock Car Association Super Cup Series. I'm Manola Rempo with Brian Britt beside me in the commentary box. Rob Melnick as technical director behind the cameras for tonight's race. Thank you once again for joining us for more Thursday night racing. We'll see you all next week.